pandemics. Let's talk pandemics.
From rough to pandemics.
Yeah. I mean, this is exactly what I felt when I was reading about your stories, such a diverse range of topics that in so many beautiful ways intertwine and are influenced by each other. I read that you, in a recent sort of news article that had just come out, I think in the last couple of weeks, that you feel that we're currently engaged in a productivity pandemic.
We're engaged in many pandemics. The truth is that we are focusing on the silly ones.
What is the real one?
The real one is artificial intelligence, no doubt.
Why?
Because it's here to stay and evolve and become bigger and bigger and bigger and influential in ways that we have not even started to consider yet. COVID is here to come and go.
For someone that doesn't know what artificial intelligence is, which is a lot of people,
yeah,
probably more than 95% of the listeners of this podcast, what is artificial intelligence?
Great question. So the reason for Scary Smart, my book, is entirely around that there are so many people out there that have no clue that they have interacted today, whatever time of the day it is for you, wherever you are, whatever you do in life, you've already interacted with 10 to 12, 15, 20, maybe 50 artificial intelligences that are all smarter than you. That's the truth of our life. Artificial intelligence, there was a turning point in the history of technology where before which all technology was programmable. So it was simply a tool that extended the capability of humanity. Okay, you can't hammer a nail with your hand. You use a hammer. You can hammer a nail with the hammer, and the hammer will do exactly what you tell it to do. Okay, beyond the turn of the century, we've discovered something that's called deep learning, and deep learning allows machines to learn on their own. We don't understand how they learn. The developers that write the code don't even understand how they learn, but they develop intelligence. They become able to make autonomous decisions based on intelligent observations and a sense of their environment and the sense of the conditions that surround them. And they make those decisions on every specific task we've given them better than humans.
Something you said scared me before we started recording, which was that, you're a very smart guy, right? And your professional experience, especially working at a company like Google, which is known for its artificial intelligence capabilities, for you to say to me that you've basically given up your summer to go around the world talking about your new book, Scary Smart, and the implications of artificial intelligence, and you're basically choosing to, because you understand the importance of time and you could be doing anything. For you to consider this the important work of your life in this period begs the question, why is it so important? Why are you giving up so much to spread this message?
It is the single most important message on our planet today. I don't think people realize. So AI today is better than humanity in everything it does. Okay? By the year 2029, the smartest being on planet Earth is going to be a machine. Now, I don't want to, we can go into the details, but I want you to imagine a scenario on planet Earth where we're not the humans, but the apes. Okay? Where there is another being that looks at us as the apes. Okay? And that being is going to be smarter than us, you heard me correctly, in 8 years' time.
8 years' time?
8 years' time. And we're not talking about it, Stephen. What's going wrong with humanity? We're not talking about it. Okay? If you look at AI from the inside, you realize that through the law of accelerating returns, Ray Kurzweil basically predicts that by the year 2045, it's in your lifetime and mine, AI is going to be 1 billion times smarter than humans. 1 billion times smarter. You know what that means? This is comparable to the intelligence of Einstein as compared to a fly. Okay? And humanity, while we're still Einstein, is not discussing how are we going to keep the best interest of us, the fly, in Einstein's mind. Okay? We're talking through the arrogance of humanity about how we're going to control them, how we're going to box them, how we're going to tripwire them. Good luck with that. The biggest hacker in the room, the smartest hacker in the room will always find a way through our defenses. Okay? Now, Scary Smart is written in a very unusual way because it's not a book about artificial intelligence only. It's a book about the role of humanity in the age of the machines. Okay? And it's split into two parts. The first part is the scary part. And if you and I dive into this, I promise you're going to be scared. The second part of it is what I call the smart part. So 5 chapters are scary like hell. Most of my early readers would call me after 5 chapters and say, should I commit suicide? Right? And then the other 5 chapters are a story of hope. Basically, it's entirely within our hands to do something so quickly, so simply, that can save our world. Okay? Now, the difference between those two is a question of awareness. That people are preoccupied talking about COVID and what the Prime Minister decided and the next profitability quarter on our business, and people are not talking about the existential challenge that we have ahead of us, okay, which is imminent, 8 years and 2045. So I start the book with a thought experiment. I say, you and I are sitting in front of a campfire in the middle of nowhere in 2055, okay? I'm going to tell you the story of what happened between 2021 and 2055 from that perspective, okay? I'm not going to tell you why we're sitting in front of the campfire. Why are we hiding in the middle of nowhere? Is it because we're hiding from the machines? Or is it because the machines have built a utopia that allows us to enjoy nature and connection and the luxuries of life, right? And the difference between them is really straightforward. The difference between them is what you and I and everyone listening, not the developers, not the government, okay, not the regulators, what you and I and everyone listening are going to teach those machines. Because those machines don't learn from their developers the minute they're out there. They learn from your swipes on Instagram. They learn from your retweets. They learn from your fights, your arguments, from this conversation. And if we don't shape up as humanity, at least some of us, enough of us, those machines will magnify the essence of what we are today as humans. And that's not really pretty.
Are you optimistic about this?
I am 100% optimistic, okay? And it's a great question to start with. I believe eventually, we're going to end up in a utopia. Whichever way, let me explain. We humans have been able to create this amazing setup that you and I are sitting in to record and communicate with the world because of our intelligence. But we've also destroyed the planet because of our limited intelligence. So, we found a way to create a supply chain that can supply Mo with a slice of watermelon right around the corner in a supermarket because we're intelligent. But we could not be intelligent enough to not use single-use plastic. We created mobility because we're intelligent, but we could not be intelligent enough to stop burning fuel to kill the planet, right? It's our limited intelligence that is the hindrance of humanity. And AI is surpassing our limited intelligence very quickly to the point that it will get to the ultimate form of intelligence. And what's the ultimate form of intelligence? The ultimate form of intelligence is the intelligence of life itself. It's the intelligence of abundance, where AI would see no reason to crush the fly. You know how life is. Life will say more flies, more antelope, more tigers, more poop, more everything. Let's just, let's have more of everything and everything will thrive. This is where AI will get 100%. I have no doubt about that. The challenge is the journey from here to there. Do we want that journey to be smooth and straightforward and wonderful? Or do we want to hit bumps on the way? And if we don't want to hit those bumps on the way, it's not about their intelligence. It's about their ethics. It's about the ethics of the machines. And that's a very, very important conversation. They're no longer machines. They will develop a code of ethics. They are independent. They're sentient in every possible way. And, and this is truly the core of Scary Smart, is an explanation that we're no longer building computers. This is not the programmable technology of the turn of the century. This is autonomous. It is independent. It is intelligent. It evolves. It procreates.
Oh, that's terrifying.
It is terrifying. And we're not talking about it.
For anyone that doesn't know what procreates mean, basically creates more of itself, I guess.
Yeah, it replicates. We humans, we take a 9-month cycle. If we find the right person and we're in the mood, they take microseconds to create 700 million copies of themselves if they wanted to.
Can I ask a really specific question? Because whenever we go into this conversation around machine learning and AI, people think of it as robots sort of like marching down the streets with guns, because we've seen that's the image we've had portrayed to us in movies like Terminator and such.
That's never going to happen.
Okay. So what is the realistic practical threat?
So let's just take that point for a minute. Huh? One of the most interesting part of AI being sentient is that it has agency. Okay, and that agency is available through robotics, whether that's a humanoid walking down the streets, and there are many killing robots being created as we speak. Okay, in the U.S. Army and in the Chinese Army and so on. But that's not the challenge. Huh? The agency they have is over your mind, and that's what most people don't understand. Let me give you a simple example. My daughter loves cats. So when I swipe on Instagram Reels, I look for cats, send her as many as I can, good ones. And then when she sends me back a smile, my life is made, right? Through that process, one time I realized that one of the types of Reels on Instagram is people playing rock solos. I'm a junkie for rock solos. And so I clicked on the first one. It was a very talented young woman holding a serious metal guitar and playing some Metallica something or whatever. I was like, man, that's amazing. I clicked like. Then Instagram recommendation engine said, okay, I can capture this one. Seems to like this. Let me show him more. So 2 pages later, I started to see other rock music solos being played by men. They played songs I didn't like, so I swiped away. The next morning, my entire feed was filled with women playing rock music. Because Instagram thought I didn't like the men, I liked the women, not that I didn't like the songs and I liked that song. Now, if you think of that simply without knowledge of the real world, you would think that rock music is dominated by women guitarists. And the truth of the world is no. Rock music in its generation was completely dominated by male guitarists. Now, it's not for male or females. It's just that your view of the world is entirely skewed by a machine. Okay? And that view of the world can go into any ideology, can teach you anything that it wants or that it believes you want based on machine intelligence. That kind of agency can change societies. Okay? And we're handing over that control entirely to the machines. There's no employee at Facebook that gets consulted, should I show Mo more female guitarists? Okay? It's entirely in the hands of the machines. And of course, if you've ever seen the movie Idiocracy, what is happening is that the machine is populating more and more idiocracy. The machine is getting people who are clicking on stupid stuff to see more of the stupid stuff so that their view of the world is more stupid. Now, that kind of agency is massive. Now, let's go back to robots and machines and so on. A self-driving car is a kind of robot. Okay, it just doesn't look like a humanoid. A flying drone, delivery drone, is a kind of robot. An autopilot that lands a 747 is a kind of robot. And all of those are now going to be controlled by machines. Defense arsenals are going to be controlled by machines. And the trigger that launches a rocket is a kind of robot. Now, the challenge we have as humanity is this: AI is never going to get to the point of what we saw in RoboCop or iRobot or whatever, because we will not live long enough to get there if the intention of AI is against us. Okay, the kinds of chapter 4 of the book is called A Mild Dystopia. Okay, and in the mild dystopia, I speak about realistic scenarios that are horrifically scary. And if you've ever watched horror movies, if you remember, Halloween when I was a child was the most horrifying because Halloween could actually happen. The kinds of scenarios are simple. They are machine versus machine. We've seen that in Black Monday when machines trading versus each other would collapse the market by 22.6%. When the humans would take hours until they can actually intervene. Machines versus machines is happening all the time. Most of the market now is traded by machines. Of course, you can imagine that this will happen more and more. So imagine if one of the superpowers in the world puts its nuclear arsenal under the control of an AI because it's quicker to take action, then the other side will probably do the same. And then suddenly we've handed all the nuclear weapons to machines. Okay, these possibilities are absolutely going to happen. Possibility of machines siding with the wrong guy. Just like you can use AI to, find solutions for climate change, you can also use it to develop advanced viruses. Okay, and probably identity theft or breaking through bank statements and so on. So the same kind of technology can actually develop patterns that can take us to that direction. Take machines not understanding what we mean. Like Instagram didn't understand that I was interested in Metallica, not in just, lady rockers. Okay, they didn't understand. Can we blame them for that? But it's a very realistic scenario. Now imagine if we told the machines, okay, we want to be happier. What would machines do? Pump us up with dopamine. They didn't understand. We didn't tell. We're not very good at explaining what we want. And then there are bugs, simple mistakes, and there has been quite a few examples of those so far in AI, where there is a bug in the system, and the bug in the system leads to a mistake. Okay, those scenarios are a lot more realistic, and they're around the corner, and we're not talking about them.
Even though that was a short monologue, I'm now totally convinced.
We have to wake up. It is real.
I'm going to make sure I can finish your book entirety, and I would really implore everybody to read your book, because I know that the way that you see the world, the perspective you come from, and especially the fact that this book isn't one that's about explaining the technology itself. It's about the real near-term implications of the technology that will impact all of our lives in considerable ways and are at the moment. I really consider it to be one of the most important books of our time.
Thank you.
And I have to say, to really conclude on that point, therefore is the answer?
The answer is very straightforward, and it's very shocking if
Brilliant.
you think about it.
Straightforward, I like.
Yeah. I mean, the truth of artificial intelligence is the key answer is found in the concept that they are no longer machines. Okay? You have to internalize the idea that these are sentient beings. And the difference is, if you're dealing with a machine, what you normally do to safeguard yourself is to create restrictions. You chain it to a wall, or you have a safety, red button or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay,
Unplug it.
Yeah. If you're dealing with sentient beings don't make decisions based on intelligence. Sentient beings make decisions based on ethics, as informed by intelligence. So simply when you really think about it, which is, again, one of my favorite chapters in the book, is a chapter that basically speaks about, I call it Raising Our Future, that basically speaks about the fact that those machines are going to be conscious. They're actually going to be more conscious than humans, okay? They're going to be emotional. They'll have a much wider breadth of emotions than we do, just like you have more emotions than a jellyfish. If you extrapolate that, the more intelligent we become, the more able we are to analyze things, and accordingly, the more emotions that we can, feel as a result. And the third and most important is that they will actually develop morals and a code of ethics. So they will have a view of the world through which they decide what they should do, okay? To ponder what that kind of ethical code should be when there are digital beings and biological beings, and the interaction between them and their perception of time and their perception of, of objectives and targets and so on. It suddenly becomes quite intriguing when you and we're not talking about it. Okay, we're not talking about any of this. So the game is this. The game is, if they're going to make their decisions as sentient beings based on ethics, how do you raise a sentient being that is ethical like you raise a child? The answer for me is that you and I, swiping on Instagram and tweeting, we need to find ways to show the machine that humanity is not represented by the scum of humanity, but is represented by the top of humanity. And most people, when I tell them this, they go like, oh man, we're in trouble. Humanity sucks. No, humanity does not suck. I apologize. Humanity is an amazing, amazing, amazing being when it's defined by its top. If you've ever fell in love, if you've ever, listened to music, if you've ever observed a work of art, this is divine. We're an amazing species. The worst of us is scum. The best of us is amazing. Okay? The problem is the best of us does not show to the machines. The best humans actually resign. They go like, yeah, let them swipe. Let the dogfight continue. I'm not interested in any of this. It's time to show up. And the best of you and I individually, in the past, humanity, every individual tried to show the best of them. Now we show the worst of us. We show narcissism. We show toxic positivity. We show the worst of us. And that has to shift. So my answer is very straightforward. For the machines to become amazing teenagers in 10 years' time, we need to become amazing parents today. And that's truly the answer, the only answer I could find. And I promise you, Elon Musk said that in his interview with Joe Rogan. He said, the threat of the machines is comparable to the threat of nuclear weapons. And I have lobbied, I have tried to tell the world not to go there, but it's going to happen. It's inevitable. I call them the three inevitables. The machines, AI will happen. It will be smarter than us, okay? And some mistakes will happen on the path. It will happen. But we could influence it as good parents, you and I and everyone. And it doesn't have to be everyone, by the way. We need 1%. We need to instill doubt in the minds of the machines that we are not the worst of us. We are the best of us. The example I always give is when Donald Trump used to tweet, the first tweet is Donald Trump. The second tweet is insulting the president. The third tweet is insulting the guy, number one. And the fourth tweet is insulting all of them. The machines are creating patterns. They're saying, okay, the second guy doesn't like the president, and all of humanity likes to insult each other.
Yeah.
Okay? Can we have 7 tweets inserted in there that are respectful? Can we show the machines, instill doubt in the minds of the machines so that they look at the world and say, oh my God, Hitler was horrible. But Hitler is not all of humanity. As a matter of fact, most of humanity resents that. Most of humanity believes that this is wrong. Mommy and daddy are good beings.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.